You're listening to Infoverity's Trust Us podcast, where you can gear up for your data management journey with bite-sized discussions on industry trends and thought leadership. On each episode, we'll feature industry experts to help you navigate your path to mastering your enterprise data.
Welcome back to Trust Us, your weekly coffee break for all things management. I am your host, Taylor, joined today by my co-host, Jocelyn. Hello, Jocelyn. Today's guest is Dr. Elena Alikhachkina, a four-time global chief data officer, board director, and published author with over 25 years of experience leading data and AI transformation across Fortune 500 companies. In this episode, we're digging into one of the most critical and also most underestimated dimensions of any technology implementation, and that's the people side. How do you lead change in a way that builds genuine trust, both in each other and in the data? And what does it actually take to get an organization to adopt something new and make it stick? Eliana has lived at this scale, and we are thrilled to have her. Let's get into it. So before we dive in, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and especially the work that you're specifically focused on today?
Thank you so much, Taylor, for invitation and for introduction. So excited to talk about this topic. So the trust is one of the underused words right now, because we do need to think about how we trust technology, how we trust new ways of working. So I have been working across multiple industries all my entire career. I started from consulting. By background, I am an engineering. I have an engineering degree, but I do have a really unusual combination because I also have my PhD in marketing and economics, and I do believe the marketing side of the business is actually helping me so much, right? Because when we talk about technology adoption, making people comfortable using differently, marketing communication does help a lot.
Certainly it does. And let's talk a little bit about that trust. The first question that I would like to ask you is, you've spent more than 25 years leading transformations across some of the world's largest organizations, and you've arrived at the conclusion that people, not technology, are the defining constraint in AI and data adoption. So my question is, what does low digital trust actually look like on the ground, and why does it matter so much for technology implementation specifically?
Thank you for the question, Jocelyn. This is a fantastic question. So let me actually take you maybe like visually imagine the history of people, right? So we exist for 300,000 years, right? And imagine that one calendar year, this is our 300,000 years, right? And let's think about what type of skills we have been learning as humans for one calendar year, right? And you're going to be really surprised. And when I show this slide at the conference, people is like aha moment, basically, right? You're going to be surprised that through November, we have been hunting. So the Industrial Revolution showed up on Christmas, December 24th, right? So internet did not come till like December 30th. And AI just a millisecond before the, basically midnight of the new year, right? So our skills are not developed yet to even like from industrial perspective, right? So we're still developing the skills. And it's going to take more time for people to actually think about how to work with technology, how to make decisions with technology, how to trust data and technology to make decisions for us, right? So this is where I see that the trust in technology is really different from trusting other people, because trusting other people, we have been doing for 300,000 years, right? But for trusting technology and data, we have been doing milliseconds before the new year, right? So I think this picture, when I show it to people, it's really big aha moment, because we feel that we are living in the AI like for some long time now, but it's not from the cognitive development is not, right? So, and I think the second point, Jocelyn, what I'm thinking is when AI came, especially like generative AI, it's such a great like breakthrough, right? And it's also easy for people to try it out. That I can get my iPhone, I can type, I can summarize, I can, do something like really quick and so exciting, right? And we do see over focus on a skill of, I could summarize something for me versus making decision, right? And also, only decision making is changing the way how company can build revenue, how company can get more customers, how companies can actually get better profitability, become like a new type of companies, right? So I think when I talk about the digital trust is, do we trust technology to be presented in our decisions? What type of decisions we want technology to take for us, right? And be comfortable actually with these recommendations.
That's an excellent response, and that actually leads very well into my next question for you, which is, so you draw this meaningful distinction between trust between people and trust in data, and you've said that both of those have to be present for a transformation to succeed in any meaningful way. Could you walk us through what the difference in trust between people and trust in data looks like from a practical perspective, and what it looks like when an organization maybe has one but not the other?
Thank you so much, Taylor. So when I presented about the trust, about the topic is like, what is the biggest dysfunction of any organization, right? And I did ask my audience, like, what is this dysfunction? And I saw many people said immediately trust, right? Because many of them have been reading the book of Patrick Lencioni, which is one of the bestsellers, like 5 dysfunctions of the team, right? So it is number one dysfunction, right? So many leaders have been going through different diagnostics and showing that if you don't trust your coworker, you don't trust your leadership, you don't trust like relations you building, right? So these are people trust. So, and this trust is emotional trust, right? So it's created from the behavioral, like a behavioral characteristic of the people, right? So when we talk about the digital trust, so digital trust is coming from the person really like making decisions or not making decisions with information, right? And there are several phases in this type of decision making. So there are actually so much research have been done on this topic. So for example, Forrestal have been doing research and like many universities. So, but it's not so much popular, right? So, but I, started looking at this topic more and more. So the first phase is, do even people interested in information? Maybe they're not interested. Maybe we teach them the tool, but they're not even interested to use the information, like, or don't understand how to use information, right? So another one, if they're interested, how they use it, right? So like what makes them comfortable to use information, right? So is it because this information confirm the experience? Is it this information actually have certain evidence, like a data quality, maybe characteristics, or some other different type of aspects, right? So after you move to next stage is, okay, you got information for yourself, you use it. Are you going to share this with others, right? And we see actually many organizations are so fluctuated. They're not collaborating with the information. They sit in their own silent way, right? So, and after the phase of, do I share this with others, I could be an advocate in my organization of building this new culture, right? So basically, I'm looking at this type of phases. And if we want to build digital trust in our organizations, we need to understand at what phase our organization is. And each individual could be at different stage, basically. So this is the difference what I'm seeing.
And I think that's a great segue into the next question as well. So as we talk more and more and more about digital trust, we started to disambiguate what that means, what it looks like when organizations have or don't have it. But I'm also interested in something that you've mentioned, which is you've described digital trust as something that can actually be measured and prescribed, not just felt. And you just alluded to this. But my question is, what does that look like in practice? And how does that understanding your trust gaps change the way that you design a transformation program?
Yes, so it definitely could be measured, right? So this is the best way, right? As I said, there is a lot of research already done on this type of topic, right? And about 3 years ago, I started personally experimenting myself as how to measure this type of trust. Started testing it out, right? So you can test this through different type of scenarios, right? So this could be open-ended questions, could be situational type of questions given to people. So, for example, the question would be is when you have a conflicting information, what you're gonna do, right? So, and this type of scenarios is gonna lead into identifying what could be the person, like what type of gaps this person might have, or like blind spots, I would love to say, right? So, or what this person actually have a strongest capability into integrating trust in organization, right? So, for example, from like my research and like from my diagnostic, I'm seeing that some people are more naturally integrators of information, right? So some are more collaborators, some actually going to be more kind of controlling the quality, right? So they basically going to make sure that everything is correct, and they're going to do this type of validation, right? So identifying is like what is the construct of your organization, and it's a big moment for leaders to see that how organization is ready for AI, because like if you're gonna see that your organization is missing integration skill, missing collaboration with information skill, or for example, your organization don't focus on the governance and trust to technology, right? So then you actually kind of missing out, right? So what I see most AI literacy or data literacy programs right now, they give people tools. So let's explain people what data means. Okay, good, but it's not good enough to build digital trust, right? So you need to see like naturally how each person is going to understand this information, and maybe the training also going to be quite different based on again on the skills, right? So interesting that a lot of technical people who have been taking this this diagnostic, you're going to see they are really great integrators, because they think about architecture, they think how technically to put it, right? But you're going to see that they cannot articulate with information, so they cannot tell the data story basically, right? So and for them to tell a data story is important because they cannot do integration work, right? So so these are type of kind of areas you can measure, identify, and you can put the like a trust index basically, like where we are as an organization.
Got you. So aligning different metrics with organizational KPIs and then stratifying those based on what's relevant to different roles that are contributing to that digital trust.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And do we even have all required components, right? Because we do need to have people who really great into defining the problem. We do need to have people who are actually really good into integrating this problem into like workflows and everything, right? So we do need to have people who is actually really good in making the final point and final decision when nobody can make any decision, right? So all this type of skills kind of build the trust together.
Excellent. So I want to talk about a real world experience of yours. So at Johnson & Johnson, you built a program called Rapid Value Realization that required executives to all be in the same room before a single solution was discussed. So it's hard to get time on people's calendars and get a lot of people in a room together. So what did it take for you to make that happen, to make it work? And what changed in those rooms once the leaders slowed down and then started to engage with the why?
So I would love to say that Johnson & Johnson is a really special company. So Johnson & Johnson has a super innovative culture, but at the same time, Johnson & Johnson also quite really good on governance, right? So what I see in many big organizations, they creating like a Wild West, and nobody takes an action of ownership and rules, right? So Johnson & Johnson is not this way, right? So when we start seeing that technology investments are increasing, so this has started happening like about 10 years ago, right? So technology have been going so so big, right? So the cloud came, you have a data lakes, you have analytics, you have big data. I mean, early like AI experimentation and everything, right? So we kind of, started talking to our leaders, to our presidents of divisions, saying is how we make sure that this technology has a like adoption potential, right? And when we talk about adoption potential, is that it's going to be integrated into your workflows, that the leaders of the business actually going to take accountability for the technology to produce results, right? So, and to experiment, we brought a couple external consulting. This is how it basically started. We brought a couple of external consulting, right? And they came with methodology was basically the mix of the mix, I would say, like agile and kind of like a value creation type of frameworks, right? So how you can create the value quickly, but how you can identify the value first, right? And starting as a small group, it's ended up actually creating entire capability, right? So then internal group got created. So in 1 year, this group conducted over like 200 workshops globally, right? So because every single division had been starting from identifying the problem. So the hardest part of this type of approach, that 90% of the time we talk about problem, and you're not allowed to talk about solution, right? So and yes, as the leader of organization, are you president or you like divisional VP or whatever, you have to be in the room, right? So you have to be in the room, right? Because after this like 2 days kind of exercise, everybody gonna get work to do, and you have to report back in 2 weeks. You have to report the results, right? And these are going to be results which also you as a leader of organization, you're going to get, right? So somebody who is more technical going to get like, give us an evidence that this data exists and this type of solution is actually possible to do. Come back in 2 weeks and say like, yes, it is possible, technically possible to do, right? So maybe finance team is going to come and say like, what would be the cost? Come back in 2 weeks and give us report back. What is the cost, right? So, but then I had, for example, task for the sales VP is proof that your salespeople can actually use this data and make decisions, right? And we gave him a sample. We gave a sample, say, here is a sample. So, select people from your sales team, test them out, and you're going to be signing off saying, I tested this out. They're going to be able to make decisions, right? So plus also like, do we have a certain process, right? So somebody needs to verify the process, right? And because we have been focusing so much is like how the work is going to be happening. And people basically at the end, many of these executives have been saying is, now I know what we need. We don't need technology. We need to change the way how we work, right? So some of them had really strong opinion is like, I just need dashboard, like I don't want to discuss like why I need it. I just need it, right? But the end of conversation was like, okay, I got it. I don't need a dashboard. I have a different problem to solve in my team, right? So, but again, I mean, Johnson Johnson is really brave to go this way, and but I brought the same methodology to other companies. So we tested this out, and then and like last year, we actually did a similar workshop at CE Connectivity. At CE, we talked to like supply chain, and one of the tasks they really wanted to solve to have less suppliers, right? So, okay, what is the problem with less suppliers, right? So, and when we started like, digging, is like, okay, the model is going to tell you, reduce 10 suppliers, right? Are you going to do it? And they said no. So we ended up not building the solution because there are, different reasons why we might have an inefficiency, right? So we have maybe some niche suppliers, we might have some, some other kind of factors, right? So, so I am a strong believer in this rapid value realization approach.
Well, and it kind of brings together everything that we've been talking about. It brings together measurement and management. It brings together decision making within the organization at the right levels. It kind of brings everything together into one methodology that really resonates with me, certainly.
Thank you,
From
Jocelyn. Yes, I mean, it's as I'm saying, is like not every single organization is so brave to drive this change management, but I think with the AI, it's absolutely needed because it's just so easy, so cheap to create hundreds new solutions and confuse people and got zero business results.
it's easy to use AI as a, a a tool to complete tasks or to provide you more information, but it's more prudent to use AI as a thought partner.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, again, great segue. I'm going to zoom out a little bit for the last formal question that we have prepared. You talk about AI's real promise being the ability to build learning organizations. We've talked about that, and not just deploying tools. But can you describe for us what a genuine learning organization looks like? And for the data leaders and executives in the audience today who are trying to make a case for a people first approach, how do you frame that conversation with a board or a C-suite that wants to move fast?
Yes, so I'm a strong believer in that the biggest promise of AI is intelligent enterprise, right? So before AI, we have been working always like in a linear process, right? So you design the product, manufacture the product, ship the customer, support your customer, right? So these are typical, let's say, manufacturing type of process, right? You know, retail have a similar process with fulfillment and merchandising and everything, right? But the point is the process is linear, right? So we kind of transition from one point to another point, right? So now AI is creating opportunity for acceleration loop, right? So let's say, for example, sales organization is engaging with customers, right? So, and AI model is recommending what is the next best action to actually for, you know, to engage with the customer, right? So the first one is this action needs to be connected to a recommendation, which in many cases it's not connected, right? So we want people to take an action because this is how acceleration of learning is happening. And if people don't take an action, it's okay, but it needs to be recorded. I did not take an action, and what is the reason I didn't take an action, right? And there are different reasons could be, right? So, you know, when I had conversations with sales, some people gonna say is, I didn't take an action because I know better. Like, you know, this promotion cycle with Walmart is different from BJ. And I mean, this is why I didn't take an action. Okay, great insight. But did you integrate this insight into system, right? So basically take an action and give system the insight which you have as a human, basically, right? So then AI is going to start learning from the knowledge of the people, right? So last week I had an amazing conversation. Actually, one of the board directors and also chief data, they asked me to prepare for board conversation, and I did ask them, is what topic you want to cover, and it was a little bit surprising, but I was so happy to hear this because they basically said, we would love to talk about how to democratize the knowledge. And I was like, wow, right? So like how to democratize knowledge, right? So this is basically the biggest promise of like the learning organization is like how you democratize the knowledge. I also happy to see that tech companies are making some changes. So technology can also help democratize the knowledge, right? But don't forget about digital trust and emotional side. Like Databricks yesterday make a big announcement. They put an additional layer actually in democratization of the knowledge, right? But these are the topics of, you know, basically creating the learning organization when you have the knowledge. Want to connect back to digital trust. People not going to share knowledge if there is no digital trust, because they're going to see the threat in terms of, I don't know what is going to happen with my knowledge. I don't know how it's going to be used. I don't know if it's going to be used for me or against me. I don't know if this knowledge is going to replace me, right? So you have to kind of, you know, when you think about learning organization, you really have to measure like what trust exists, because otherwise you're never going to create AI acceleration loops.
That is excellent, excellent information. Thank you so much. So, Eliana, we have reached the end of our questions, and right now I just kind of want to do a quick recap to make sure that we hit on all of the key points that you wanted to discuss with us today. And so we start off with the newness of trust in technology. Our skills are still not quite developed as humans to fully trust and make decisions based on just the technology alone. Within the entire scope of human history, that's still an extremely new concept to us. How do we create that trust? It takes steps, right? There are steps to creating this digital trust, and that involves asking ourselves questions. How are people using the data? Are they interested in using the data? What makes them comfortable with that data? Can they share the data, and can it be used for collaboration? And can you advocate for the trust in that data? And understanding where your organization is amongst those questions is really important to figuring out what steps you need to take specifically to create that digital trust. That digital trust, which can be measured, thank goodness. And it's important to measure that in order to figure out how an organization can best get the most out of that trust. So getting these leaders together and driving that change from the top down, it creates accountability. It allows them to prioritize appropriately, and it creates dialogue around what the actual problem statements are, so that there's no ambiguity around what the actual problem is that needs to be addressed, rather than obfuscating it with potential solutions. Finally, I really liked your last point. Change is no longer linear. AI accelerates development, but it also accelerates change. And enabling the democratization of knowledge can be a very good way to help manage that accelerated change. And of course, circling it back, a key enabler of that democratization of information is that digital trust. So bringing it all the way back around, is there anything else that you wanted to cover that I didn't mention just now in that quick little overview?
I think you covered everything perfectly, Taylor. Thank you so much. So I think despite of all this confusion and noise, what is happening in the market, I'm in general super excited where we can go with this, right? But let's do not forget about people. So we do need to, like, a part of even like my diagnostic is actually like, do we stop enough to take people with us, right? So I mean, it's important moment for the leadership, I would say.
Excellent. Well, Eliana, thank you so much. Jocelyn and I have had an excellent time having you on as a guest and getting to know you as an OCM person myself. This has been really, really insightful and extremely enjoyable. So thank you again for joining us on Trust Us.
Thank you so much.
For more than a decade, Infoverity has been established as an industry-leading consultancy specializing in solving enterprise data management business problems with best-in-class technical solutions. Our firm has consultants located around the globe, with headquarters in Columbus, Ohio, and Valencia, Spain. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you, please visit our website at infoverity.com. We've also included additional contact information in the show notes.